What is the meaning of your life? If you ask the average person this question, they would either tell you that they don't know or that the meaning of life is for you to determine. But what if I told you that wasn't true? What if I told you that you already knew the meaning of life, whether consciously or subconsciously? And what if I also told you that the meaning of life is shared amongst all human beings equally? I have spent the last decade meditating and self-reflecting on this question, as well as traveling across the world to meet saintly and spiritual people to ask them, what is the meaning of life? My pursuits have helped me discover the profound truth behind this question. The meaning of life is simple. The meaning of life is for you to be happy. And if you think about all of your actions and your current pursuits, you can see the truth in this statement. Everything that you currently do is in the pursuit of happiness. You will spend an hour preparing a meal because that food will make you happy when you consume it. You'll spend an hour watching a show on Netflix because while you're watching the show, it's bringing you enjoyment and happiness. You might work 8 hours at a job that you don't like because the check that you're receiving is bringing you happiness. Every single thing that you're doing, whether you realize it or not, is in the pursuit of happiness. So the next question that you might ask is, okay, if everybody's aim in life is to be happy, and we're already in the pursuit of happiness, why are there so many unhappy people in the world? To answer this question, I would like to share a story about myself. When I was a young teenager first getting into fitness and nutrition, I discovered that I wasn't eating enough quality carbohydrates. So what did I do? I decided that the best course of action would be to eat a tablespoon of sugar every day. That sounds ignorant to you, right? I would agree. My goal was to be healthier, but because of my ignorance, I was actually doing the opposite and becoming unhealthy. The main reason why most people are unhappy even though they're in the pursuit of happiness is due to this ignorance. The reason why most people are unhappy even though they're chasing happiness is because they don't know what true happiness is. The average person is really happy with momentary pleasures, but they don't realize that these momentary pleasures cause them more pain than joy. Think about the example of an individual working at a company that they don't like. They tolerate working somewhere for 9 hours a day, working with individuals that don't appreciate them, doing responsibilities that they don't care about, all because they're chasing happiness, maybe in the form of a check, maybe in the form of respect that they get from working at a big company. But in reality, if they took a step back, they would realize that they're getting this much pleasure for this much pain. How can anybody be happy in this situation? Think about a couple, two individuals that don't even talk to each other, they don't get along, they don't vibrate on the same frequencies, but they still stay together. They're suffering when they're together, they don't like being around each other. Because of the little happiness that they get from maybe thinking that they won't be alone forever, they're willing to sacrifice this much for this much gain. How can anybody be happy in this situation? I'll give you a personal example. When I was younger, I thought the key to my happiness was gonna be to buy a nice car. So I bought my first car, it was a 2-door coupe. And I was like, wow, this is gonna make me happy. But in reality, every day I had to deal with a different problem with this car. Sometimes it would overheat, sometimes it wouldn't even turn on, sometimes like the window or the door wouldn't even open, sometimes the radio would just come on by itself. I thought I was gonna get happiness by buying a car, which maybe I did for maybe this much of time when people looked at me driving it or when I passed by. But in reality, it caused me this many problems. How could I have thought I was gonna be happy? It's impossible. That's where the ignorance comes into play. So the next question you might ask is, okay, we already addressed that the meaning and aim of your life is to be happy. That's the sole goal of you. You're already pursuing this, but we also discussed that most people are pursuing it in the wrong places and that's why they're unhappy. So the next logical question is, where can I find true happiness? How can you find true happiness? This is a very powerful question. If you find out what can make you happy, you will have reached nirvana, enlightenment, while living on this earth, while living in this lifetime. You would have opened your third eye. While most people are confused and lost, you will have an aim. You know what brings you permanent satisfaction, and because that's your sole focus, nothing else will matter to you. You'll become like a sharp arrow. How do you get here? What are the steps? Here's what I suggest. Find a dark room, turn off all the lights, turn off all the music, put your phone in a different room, close your eyes, and sit down and ask yourself, what brings me true happiness? When you ask yourself this question, there's going to be a million things that pop up in your mind. But then the next responsibility that you have is to ask yourself, does this really bring me true happiness, and why does it bring me true happiness? For every thought that pops up in your head, ask this question. You might think that being popular will bring you happiness. You might think that passing an exam will bring you happiness. You might think buying a house will bring you happiness. Sit back and ask yourself, what makes me really happy and why does it make me happy? After several days of doing this, your mind will naturally filter out all the things that don't matter to you anymore. And you'll have a different set of eyes, a clear vision. You'll know where to go and nobody will be able to stop you. If you meditate on this long enough, you'll reach a level of happiness that nobody else can take away from you. Imagine that. There's nothing more important in your life than to find out the answer to this question. What brings you happiness? This is your only goal in life. What's stopping you from figuring it out? The person who doesn't find value or meaning behind finding the answer to this question, what brings me happiness, will never be able to find happiness and will always constantly settle for temporary pleasures, which will in the long run cause them more harm than joy. This is the profound truth behind finding enlightenment and nirvana while living on this earth. All it takes is your desire to want to be free, to be happy forever. What are you waiting for? Hari Om.